on the road. We got a bunch of entrepreneurs that are busy. So let's start off with some wins. Like I said, as we're going through wins, I want you thinking about what questions that you have for the open Q&A, but let's get going here with some wins. I would love for you to just unmute and share what's going on.
Well, it's not a big one, but me and my partner are both on the call, so I think that's a win.
I think that is a huge win, Scott. And if you or Rick could unmute and kind of share why that's such a big win, where you guys were a year ago versus now, I would love to share with everybody else.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Rick.
How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you here.
Thank you. So, we started the electrical, and then I've been in plumbing school, and so I finally got done with the plumbing school, and we've started the plumbing. So, I don't have a boss making me clock in every morning at 8. So I get to
Whatever.
clock in. I get to clock in at 6 and work till dark.
Oh, it's so exciting. Yes, Rick and Scott both started this business about a year ago, just electrical. Rick, they've both been working essentially full-time jobs while running the business. And then Rick passed his plumbing tests last week. He's no longer working for anybody else except for maybe Scott a little bit. And so wanted to give them a huge shout out. This is so big to have you full-time in the business, having plumbing going full speed as well. And I want to say, even though plumbing's brand new, you guys are like booked out plumbing wise. Am I wrong there? Or?
No, you're right. I'm trying to juggle, get dropping my van off to get it wrapped, get trailer hitches put on, and so we're scrambling thanks to Redmond Growth.
Oh gosh. Well, you guys are just such diligent doers. I really appreciate you sharing, and congratulations, Rick, for being full time in the business. That's huge. Any other wins happening? I just saw Dale Eads. He said, "What an exciting time." He's one of our plumbers up in Oklahoma City. And he's somebody who's also has a big story, went from just him to now. Dale, you can put it in the chat, but I think you have 4 vans in the field right now, maybe 5. I could be wrong, but um, another big 4. Yeah, I thought so. Another big growth story. I see more people coming in. I think we're just moving a little bit slow this morning, getting things going. But any other wins, I'd love for you to put it in the chat, unmute and share.
We got one.
Tell us, Anthony.
So we just started our Facebook advertising our ads.
Yeah.
And so we got in 4 so far, and we were able to get 2 of them booked. The very first one we got, we booked, and we sold it for like $6,000 as well. So pretty successful.
Hey. Hey. Anthony, that is huge. I'd love to hear that. I saw Alyssa light up real big. She's the one who manages most of the ads for all of our clients. And so I really know that she appreciates you sharing that win. And I know that a lot of
I can't wait to talk next week about that. That's
Yes.
awesome.
I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's huge. Thank you for sharing. It's here today. Going once. Going twice. Well, one win that I would like to share, and I hope next week I can come back with numbers for you guys. But one thing that we love to see here at Redmond Growth, and I know it's a lot of people become business owners because you guys want to be able to give back, because you guys want to be able to be involved in your community. And one thing that I thought was really cool, one of our clients, Garden Diva, they're here based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where we're based out of here in Redmond Growth. We had a pretty large, I think it was a F4, Travis, you can correct me if I'm wrong, tornado that came through about 30 minutes away from where most of us live, about 3 miles away from where Travis lives. To be, it was very close to him, but it went through a town called Skytook and another one called Barnesdale and Bartlesville, and did quite a bit of damage here earlier this week. And one of our clients, Garden Diva, they got right on the horn, and all week they've been doing a sell for all of their Oklahoma products. They do custom metal art. They've been donating 30% of all sales to help the relief in Bartlesville. And so I just wanted to celebrate them because that's just huge. I love seeing, people be able to give back and invest in their community. I know a lot of people become business owners because they want to be able to do those things. And so I just wanted to celebrate them. If you guys are curious, you can go to gardendiva.com and look at what they've got going on. But wanted to give them a big shout out and celebrate them. Any more wins today before we move on? Going once, going twice. All right. Okay, well, now we're going to kind of transition here. I hope you guys have been thinking as we've been chatting. What questions do you guys have this week? Issues that you're running into, maybe something that you're just simply kind of frustrated with and you would like to talk about it or get advice. I want you guys to see this as kind of the most powerful hour of the week. You're getting advice from people who've been in your shoes, from other coaches. So what questions, what issues are we running into? What do we want to address here today?
Well, I guess we'll ask about our big question of the day, hiring.
Yes.
What do you do when you're hitting the proverbial brick wall on finding good help?
That's a great question, Scott. And I know all of the coaches are chomping at the bit to answer that question for you, but I'd love to hear from a client. Has anybody struggled with hiring or has found a good way to find somebody or have a good trick? Love for
Hire
you
slow, hire fast.
Zachary.
Yeah, I don't think the first warm body that comes in. We're in the fence industry, and in any construction, we know there's a stigma attached, and so a lot of times we just want the first body that we can get because it is so hard to find people. But for us, we started just hiring slow, and we'll do an on-the-job interview where we bring them out, and we go, okay, show us what you can do. You say you can do all this. Show us what you can do. We'll pay you for the day, the 2 days, the 3 days, whatever, however long we feel we need to do. And then they show us if it doesn't work out, we go, hey, here's money, thank you. And if it does work out, we give them shirts and we bring them on the team. So that's my 2 cents on that. It's been successful for us.
Love that advice, Zachary. Moving quick in the hiring process, setting expectations, and then always hiring. So if that somebody doesn't work, you got somebody else to come through the door. I love that advice. I also love what Dale Eads put in the chat here. He goes, just keep pushing. It will eventually work out. And that's so true. Hiring is probably one of the most frustrating parts of being a business owner. And it's okay to be picky. It's okay to let people go who aren't good fits, and it's something that it might take a little bit to find the right person, but we'd rather do that than find the wrong. So Dale says he gives potential employees 2 weeks on a temporary basis to see how they're doing. And then after those 2 weeks is when he will really kind of officially say, okay, you're on the team. We'll review it again in 30 days. That's a really good trick as well. Josh, I saw you on mute. Do you have a comment?
Yeah. So recently I heard someone's strategy about hiring someone and giving them a trial, like some of the other people have mentioned, and asking them how much they think that they're worth. What do you think that you should be paid based on whatever skills you have? And then you have that trial period to see, where they're at, pay wise too, because it's tough to hire someone at a certain pay rate and then see that they're not really worth it and either drop their pay rate, which is tough to do, or get rid of them. It's kind of you can kind of see where the best of them,
Yes. And one thing you mentioned, Josh, that I think is so important is you don't want to bring somebody in at like what they ideally want to be paid or what you can ideally afford to pay them. Like, never put them at that top tier. It gives you no room to incentivize them, to bonus them. It gives them no reason to want to work harder. They're already getting what they want. We love a merit-based pay system. If you want more details on that, we've got oodles of videos, and your coach can definitely help you with it too. But something that they have a lower hourly rate, but they're incentivized based on, hitting certain revenue amounts or profitability amounts or sales goals. And then it really kind of sets their own ceiling based on those bonuses. They can make a lot of more money, than just their hourly rate. So, Josh, that's some great advice. I would love to know anybody who maybe, I know that finding good applicants can be a little bit hard. Is there anybody who's willing to admit to maybe even coaching people who they see in the warehouse, putting up flyers in the warehouse? I would love to kind of hear, how are people finding these guys these days? What are you doing? Anybody? I saw Zachary nodding, so I say that again, Michael.
I gave birth to my help.
That's one strategy.
That is one strategy. That is so funny. One of my first clients here at Redmond Grove was K. Edwards Plumbing, and they had 12 children. And that was literally, we never hired outside of their household. Like, it was just like, eventually if one decides to go to college or move on, that's okay. We got another one turning 16, 18. We'll just get them in there. Like, we never had to hire outside of their house. So that is a strategy.
It's not an option for me.
No.
Well,
Oh,
the good news is, if that's not your strategy, actually, I guess I should have shared this during the wins, but I have a client in Madison, Wisconsin, and just in the last week, 10 days, he was able to use Indeed to find an office manager that's working out really well, executing his processes and checklist, and also added 2 new members to the team that he got to pick from his candidates. He had a lot of applicants, a lot of qualified people, but he's able to do kind of like you guys said, ride a long day, see what they can do, and then choose from there. And he honestly just got it from Indeed, sponsoring the post and just following the process there.
yeah. And kind of on that topic, and as you guys are, as I'm leading you guys through Indeed here, if anybody has any comments or something that they've done or seen, please put it in the chat, unmute, let us know. But with Indeed, that is the number one job posting spot online. It's the one that we're going to go to first. And for, if you are in an industry where it's far and few between or you're high turnover, I would be consistently having a job posted on Indeed. With Indeed, you can sponsor a job. And if you are hiring for a high technical position, you need to sponsor your job. You're just not going to really get applicants any other way. Also, how your job is set up is important too. Brevity is the soul of wit. You want to keep your job description short. You want to have bullet points. People just skim through job posts. They're not reading them. And so you want to focus that job post on what's most important. I have had some clients that if they aren't getting many applicants, they might add to the title of their job description. They might add like bonus opportunities or a signing bonus. And there's a lot of caveats with signing bonuses, guys. You can set the terms of that. So if you're going to do a $2,000 signing bonus, that doesn't mean they on and work them for a day. What that could mean is that they get 500 after the first 30 days, another 500 after the first 60 days, another 500, after 90. Like, you can set those terms. And if they get fired or let go, they have to pay it all back. You can set those terms, for the signing bonuses. And so sometimes offering an incentive like that, especially for a high technical or licensed position, can get more applicants through the door. I'm also a big believer in having a ton of different jobs. Like, I'm actually in Complete Electrics Indeed, right now. That's who asked the question. But you can see here we have one job that's sponsored, and then we have a bunch of free jobs that we've posted for free. Now, what you can see, the only one that's got an applicant in it is the one that is sponsored. And that just kind of goes to show that sponsoring your ad does definitely get you more attention, but it doesn't hurt to cast as wide of a net as possible. The next move here would be to start sponsoring these other smaller towns so that you guys are showing up, your job posting is showing up high for all these towns as well. If you just post a free job, what I want you guys to think about is if somebody else posts a job in your industry, your job's just consistently getting buried with every new job post. So sponsorship's going to help with that. You can also increase your daily budget too to try to sponsor it higher. If somebody else is sponsoring in your area in Little Rock for this same position and they have a $20 a day budget, well, Indeed's probably going to put them higher than you know. So it's a little bit of playing with that. You can also see here, guys, this is a dispatcher position. We'd never sponsored this job. They got 27 applicants. For general helpers, for office managers, for dispatchers, I rarely see people needing to sponsor a job. But for a project manager, a lead carpenter, a licensed person of a licensed trade, it's going to be a little bit more far and few in between. And so those are just some like little hacks here, guys. And it's a little bit kind of like everybody said, it's a numbers game, it's a time game. And so you just kind of have to be patient with it, increase those budgets, sponsor more jobs. If we need to add an incentive, we can, but it's just going to take a little bit of time.
In New England, vocational schools are big. I don't know how they are where you're at.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Michael. It is different per state, whether you even need a license or if there is a school, but getting in with local trade schools is definitely a great way to get applicants, you know, making friends with the professors there so that they're sending you their top applicants. There's usually job boards that you can post a flyer saying we're hiring. I'm usually not opposed to that because then you get somebody fresh who's a little bit coachable and eager to start their career so you can kind of mold them. And so that's really great advice too, Michael. And then, like I said earlier, warehouses, supply houses, put flyers up. If they might even allow you to put it on the front desk when people are checking out. They see your flyer. You know, they're always looking to see if the grass is greener. And so definitely do that as well.
And with your job posting, wherever you put it, whether it's, you know, a vocational school, Indeed, or wherever, the biggest thing that you need to focus on is benefits. That's what really causes people to choose where to work. And that's not just insurance, 401k, but if you do, you know, ongoing training, the merit-based pay can be really attractive to top performers, you know, but really lead with that and focus on that. And you want to focus on a job post and kind of think, would this job be appealing to me? Would I apply for this position? Because really that's the main area that when people are looking for jobs, that's where they start. If that's not appealing, they may not even get to the rest of the job posting. No matter how beautifully it's written or what it contains, I'd really recommend leading with that and making sure those are super strong.
Absolutely. And like Travis said, they don't need to be traditional benefits. A lot of people get stuck on that. Nicole, I'm never going to find somebody. We don't offer a 401k. I can't compete with these big franchises. Okay, Dale Eats, great example. He does an annual float trip with all of his technicians. That's pretty cool. He also provides breakfast every Friday morning for their meetings. That's pretty cool too. That's not happening at most businesses. He also does their laundry for their uniforms. He has a service that comes in. He provides uniforms. He provides some tools. They're driving pretty decent vans. You know, like these are all benefits that you're not going to see at every single place. Highlight those benefits. He also incentivizes people by paying them for any reviews that they get. That's an opportunity to make more money that a lot of companies are not doing. And so don't get so stuck in the traditional benefits. Make sure that you're highlighting those non-traditional benefits that they're going to receive at your company. Make sure that's in your job description.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Okay. So what my partner and I do, we always say we want to build the company we always wanted to work for. So one of the things we do is, like, for example, our office manager, she has 3 kids. She's a mom. Her husband works for us too. So he's out in the field. She works in the office. There's times that she has to go and pick her kids up, or there's a doctor appointment, or so flexibility for certain personnel that you have is key. Like, she could get paid more money somewhere else for sure with the talent she had. But because we're super flexible with our schedule, she's like, why would I go anywhere else? They treat me good. They do this for me. They do this for me. And then piggybacking on what Travis was saying, we do the same thing. We take the guys out to lunch. We do that, and then those guys share that with their friends, and then we get those people. People hang out with who they are. So if you have a stallion working for you, he's gonna hang out with other stallions. He'll bring them on as well. So I don't know if the guy who asked the question, if he has any employees or not, but we start with that. Before we even put a job opening up, we go, hey, you guys know anyone who's looking for work? We're looking to hire a new laborer or a new lead or a new whoever. And then they can put that word out there. Because no offense to Indeed, but a lot of times, or not Indeed, but Facebook, all those things, these other like Snag a Job, all those other ones, they've got, a lot of times these people don't have jobs. Why, you have to ask, why don't they have a job? Indeed's a little different. They're more professional. So you got people who already have, like, LinkedIn's great because LinkedIn, those people who already have jobs, and you want those people, not necessarily the ones that don't have jobs. You got to ask, why don't they have a job? So
and that's
again,
a great,
just my 2 cents, nothing against Indeed or anybody else.
yeah. No, that's a great point, Zachary. And we always prefer if you have an employee who knows somebody who has a cousin, a friend, or another, somebody who's worked through in the past that he's willing to like stand by and say, hey, this person does good work. We always love hiring that over somebody random. And so definitely, I always encourage clients to post on their Facebooks. You never know which one of your friends has a friend or knows somebody. Post it on both of your Facebooks. Ask your friends to share it. Ask your employees to share it. You're just casting as wide a net as possible, and that's
And
free.
post if you guys have team outings or you guys do stuff, post that on Facebook too, because you're not only marketing to your clients, but you can market to employees as well. Like, man, that place looks really cool to work for. They seem like they really like their team, and everybody gets along. It's a nice environment and all that. So we like to do that. We don't do a lot of company outings right now, but when we do, we always post that on there so that they can see that it's not just clock in, clock out. We don't care about you. So.
Yes, huge. Any other questions, either about hiring, firing, or anything else business?
I got one.
Yes, Fernando.
So we were thinking earlier this week, as we're slowly growing, me and Anthony are right. We're doing the business side and also doing everything else. But we have 2 apprentices that usually help us. One is an HVAC apprentice, and the other one's a plumbing apprentice. But we were thinking, I'm like, with how busy we get with running the business side, do you think it would be worth it, or maybe somebody who's been in this position could tell me as well? Do you think it would be worth it to? It kind of sucks, but to let the 2 apprentices go and hire a full-on lead that could do plumbing and HVAC, because we have friends that have asked, hey man, are you guys hiring? And they're cross-trained and we know them because both of their hourlies put together, we have one we're paying $24 an hour and the other one that's $15 an hour. So that's roughly about $40 an hour, which could get you a great lead, at least out here in Utah. And the apprentices, they have a truck, so it's kind of like, man, not both of them, one of the apprentices has a truck because he picks up parts and stuff, but just kind of want to see what your guys' thoughts were.
Yeah. If any clients have advice, I'd love to hear from them. But Fernando, as you were talking, I think you've kind of already worked it out a little bit. Like, I think you're maybe just looking for confirmation that might be the right thing to do. There's always going to come a point in your business, and it usually happens pretty early on, and it's a very nerve-wracking time. But where you're going to say, okay, we can't grow further than where we're at right now because we're doing all of the work. You're either going to need to hire an office manager to help you answer the phone, schedule appointments, follow up with people, help you manage the team, so that you can focus on being in the field and doing work and selling, or you're going to need to find somebody to replace you in the field so that you can step kind of more into that office manager business owner role. And it sounds like that's kind of the spot that you're in currently. If you have really good apprentices, if you really like them, I'd hate to let them both go. I would think about if you were to hire a full-time person and they had an apprentice, how much work could they truly get done? Could they bring in 6 to 8 grand per week with having him an apprentice? Or maybe with you having two business owners, if you have a full-time tech, would you guys be able to kind of fill in for jobs or help out when needed? I think you have a lot of really good options, but I'd love to hear from a client on what their perspective is or if they've been there before. Yes, Zach.
Sorry, I keep trying.
We love it.
With you having a business partner, like that's I have a business partner in every business I have, and it's I would look at where the bottlenecks are in the business as far as what is it you guys are when you're saying we're kind of at a standstill, we can't grow or whatever. Figure out what that is. Is that you can't get to all the estimates, it's the admin stuff, the back of the house stuff, and then figure out where that bottleneck is. And then if one of you all can get out of the field and do that part-time if need be, and then the other one focus on the apprentices and work with the apprentices, then apprentices are good because, like Nicole said earlier, you're not paying that $40 an hour. So there's room to grow they'll grow with you and they'll do things the way you want it done for your business and with your standards. Whereas you bring somebody else and they may be stuck in their ways and this is how they're going to do it. It's kind of hard to train that. But if you really needed to hire somebody, our first hire was an office manager. We call office manager. They were the ones that handled, like Nicole was saying, all the admin stuff, the phone calls, the leads that came in. They were the ones that contacted them. So you can get the lead super quick. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is to focus on where the bottlenecks are and what the issue really is, and then go from there. Because if it's admin stuff, and both of you guys, pardon my language, suck at admin stuff, then there's no point in hiring a tech, and then you guys start doing that. You guys aren't good at it. So I would look into that. That would be my advice: is look into that. Look at where the bottlenecks are, and what will really help the company in the long run.
That's
growth.
typically the first position I tend to push people to. I always tell them there's no right or wrong answer. If you would rather step into that office person role and you want to get out of the field, awesome. That's what Dale Eads did. He didn't want to be in the field anymore, and so we hired somebody to replace him, and then he stepped into that office manager position. That's not a wrong move. It's whatever you want. Now, hiring for an office manager is going to be easier and it's going to be cheaper. So there's that to consider. And then if that allows you to really focus on selling jobs and performing jobs, and then you have two apprentices, like ultimately, I don't know what industry you're in, Fernando. What do you do? Are you a service guy?
Plumbing and HVAC, yeah.
Awesome. So if that allows you and your business partner to have an apprentice each, and you guys are bringing in between 6 to 8 grand a piece, and then that office person is able to nurture leads a lot better and keep the schedule a lot more full, like that could ultimately double the revenue of your business by making that jump. But like I said, there's no right or wrong here. Like one of you could step into that office person position. You guys hire another lead role. You're and that new guy both have an apprentice, there you go too. There's no right or wrong here. I think you just need to decide what you and your business partner ultimately want, because the business is meant to serve you. And so if you're ready to get out of the field, get out of the field. Step into that office manager role. There's no right or wrong here. You just need to make sure that you're committed and being smart with whatever next move you take.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yes. What other questions do we have?
I was just going to add on to the office admin there. If you go that route, one thing that may allow you to do as well is if you and Anthony both have an apprentice and you have some of that admin work taken off your plate, you also may be able to spend more time with those apprentices to get them to trained up to where they can fill that lead role, probably better because they're doing things the way that you taught them to do it, and maybe even at a little bit lower cost than just hiring somebody that's fully trained from the outside.
Okay. Kind of funny question, but what on average is the responsibility of the manager or the office manager or the office lady?
I love that question.
That is a great
I
question.
I love that question because you work with Redmond Growth. So we have daily office checklists, we have weekly checklists, we have monthly, we have inbound call scripts, outbound call scripts, follow-up scripts, Dream 100 scripts, emails, text messages. We
Nice.
have a CRM system that we can get you set up on where they can put all of your leads and keep them organized. We've got tracking documents so they can help you fill out. And so like the office man, I get so excited because that's my favorite position to like help a client through because it can do like it's
Are you
always an
looking for a
asset.
part-time job?
I love it. It's always an asset. It's never an expense when done correctly, and it is amazing what it will do for your business. I want to say it was Rick and Scott when we first hired their first office manager. I think the first time I got on the phone with them, they were like, "Nicole, I don't know how we were doing everything we were doing before hiring this person." Uh, it's just it's if done
That is the
correctly.
truth.
Yeah, if I appreciate you backing me up there, Scott. If done correctly, like if you are committed to putting the right systems in place and the accountability, like you're going to be amazed how much more time you have and how much more revenue is coming to the business because of that position. So whatever you need,
Oh,
Fernando, ask your coach. We'll get it to you.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Any other questions? These have all been great, guys.
I have
have a
one.
question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm wondering,
Yeah.
I'm wondering about what you guys do if you have a dedicated salesperson, like what the pay structures for them and how you found them and how's that work. I'm still sort of in my infancy of my business, and I'm wearing a lot of hats, and I'm trying to figure out how to get a salesperson going. So if anyone has anything I can glean off of, it'd be great.
Clients? Anybody? So, Josh, I think why it's a little bit quiet is because pay for sales is so like there's so many different ways to pay a salesperson. And so I think that's why people are like, because there's so many different ways and there's really not like a right or wrong way.
Yeah, we're all
Personally,
interested to hear the answer too.
yeah. Personally, my favorite, and there could be a coach on the team who disagrees with me who says it's not their favorite, but I like to do a merit-based pay structure where they're getting an hourly wage,
Absolutely.
but it's a little bit lower. And that kind of because I don't like a sales guy that's completely independent and is just like, I just work off commission, I do what I want to do. Like sometimes that can create that attitude. Like I don't want to fill out a tracking document or follow a sales process or like fill out this CMM. My job's just selling. I just get commissions only. And so I kind of like having an hourly rate so that they are more of an employee mindset and we can get them to do those things. But because their hourly rate is a little bit lower, that also will pay their that gets you out of having to pay for gas too, and that can be its own bear of a thing. So they have their hourly rate and then they get either a smaller commission off of what they sell or what the profits are, or they get you could even set it up if you don't want to do commissions because sometimes percentages can get, hard to track and stuff. You can even just do a bonus structure where it's like, hey, for any jobs in between this range, I'm going to give you a $500 bonus. For any jobs in between this range, we're going to give you $1,000. Whatever it is, you can sit down with your coach and you can figure that out if you don't want to do percentages. But personally, that's what I like for sales guys, is a lower hourly rate with some type of commission or bonus structure based on what they sell.
I would second that as well. I think that's how you incentivize them, right? To not just be on the clock, not selling. You're paying them for producing more revenue to the business.
Can I add a disclaimer too? When you go to, we just hired somebody and he got over on us big time. And it was our fault. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we didn't track our numbers of what we were selling. So there was no quota. So there was no benchmark for him. And like, we gave him all the materials, we gave him all that stuff, but we were like, okay, I mean, we're in Fence. So Fence is like this. And you do a quote and then 6 months later they'll call you. So it's kind of rocky there. But
you have a longer sales process.
Right.
It's not like a plumber or electrician.
Exactly. Yeah. Where some of you guys are like, okay, if you got to snake a drain, they need that done now. But I would say make sure that you work with your coach on it, but make sure that you know what numbers you want them to hit. Because if you go in blind and then they're blind, you're going to spend a fortune. We did the salary plus commission. That's how we did it.
If you do not have tracking set, do not hire a salesperson. It will be a crapshoot. If you do not know your margins, if you do not know your goals, if you do not feel confident in teaching somebody how to estimate, you have to have all of those things in place before hiring that salesperson, or it will be a crapshoot. I see the hands up. I promise I'm going to get to you guys. But one thing that I want to just briefly go over is every single one of you, if you're a client at Redmond Growth, you have access to a master tracking document. We normally put it on the top of your agenda, right above the action items section. There's multiple different tabs on the bottom of this document. One that I really like to use to track technicians' sales, like for how much they're bringing in each tech. I also like to use it for sales guys to keep track of how many estimates they're giving and how many deals they're closing and their average estimates. How much are they bringing in per job? This is a really brilliant tool to do that. And you can manipulate it. You can edit it. We'll fix the formulas if you need. But for each salesman or each tech, you would keep track of how much money did they, either if it's a technician, how much money did they collect? If it's a sales guys, how much money did they sell that week? How much did they sell? And then for techs, it would be how many jobs did we send them out on versus how many jobs did they end up winning? For sales guys, it would be how many estimates did they give versus how many did they end up closing that week? And then that's going to give you their current average ticket total or current average estimate. And it'll actually give you monthly totals as well. And so if this is not something that you have set up, this would be something you would want to go over with them. Scoreboard. People need to see the score. They need to see what other people are doing. They need to know what goals they need to hit. And so if you're not currently using this is a brilliant way to be able to track closing ratios, average tickets, and really be able to see who's struggling and be able to give advice from there. We also have the leads and sales process tab of this. If you're on CMM, our CRM system, it's going to do this for you if you are using it. That's the caveat. Just having it set up does not do anything for you. And so you got to make sure that you are actually using the opportunities section. But the main goal of this is keeping track of every single lead, all of this information for each lead. And then where they are at in the sales process. Have we given them an estimate? Have we booked the sales appointment? Are we having issues? Are we just quoting people and hoping they call us back? You have one central place, whether it's on this spreadsheet or it's through CMM, you have one central place where you're able to see all of your leads. My techs or sales guys is owning that lead and where is it at in the sales process, which is going to allow you as the business owner to be able to train your team a lot more effectively, because you're going to be able to see where they're struggling and you're going to be able to edit your sales process to help close more deals. Okay. I'll step off my soapbox. Jordan, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, so on the merit-based pay, I've kind of worked, I've been running my business now for 7 years, but I've worked for companies on all sides of that spectrum. And the one that did it the best was a company out of Kansas City that I worked for. They were the largest service company of their size. And I talked about this in one of the other group calls, but we would meet weekly, and you were talking about the leaderboard, if you will. We could see what our numbers were among technicians in our weekly meeting. And it kind of created some like healthy, I wouldn't even call it competition. It was really just, it created more synergy among the technicians, which was great. And the way they had it set up, we had a base pay. It was typically smaller. For example, when I worked there, mine was 24 an hour, but because and then we set like a minimum in revenue we had to do a week. So I had to do at least 4,000 in revenue for the week. And then I would get straight 25% commission as long as my job's got a 43% profit margin. Obviously that wasn't the company's profit margin. Theirs would be less, but as long as my jobs did 43%, then I would get that 25. I always hit it. I think I had maybe 1 week out of the entire year that I worked there that I didn't hit it because I had incentive to do it. And generally I was far over. I think I averaged somewhere between 36 and 40 bucks an hour. And that was 8 years ago, something like that. So, and almost all the guys would hit revenue every single week. Obviously I think I was in the top 2 there, but they did it really well. And in contrast, when I moved to Tennessee, I worked for a company that they didn't really do things that way. They were a very large service company, but they had what they called their SPIF program. And we would only get incentive for pushing certain products with customers. And I'm curious to see what the coaches say, but I always had a hard time with that because it kind of made us feel like we had to just push certain things with customers, and it didn't feel like we were really listening to them as much because we felt like in order to make something, we had to push specific things. And so I liked the way we did it, at the other company, and I will probably model more after that because we were really encouraged to listen to the customers, and we were able to provide more options for them instead of, pushing specific products all the time.
This is a balancing act, Jordan.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference in between selling things to people that they do not need, which is the impression I'm getting from you here, is that's what they were wanting you to do, is sell things that person doesn't need. But there is a difference in between doing that, which is essentially lying and manipulation, compared to I'm a plumber and I'm in my customer's house, and while I'm here, I'm going to do a home safety inspection so that they know if there's anything else that I could fix while I'm here, because ultimately it's going to serve that customer better if I'm able to take care of this right here. It's going to be cheaper, it's going to save them time, and it's going to cause something that right now is small from being big. Or if their water heater is 20 years old and I'm here to fix it, I'm going to let them know that it probably is going to save them more money in the long run instead of me fixing it right now for you to just replace it, because it's going to go kaput at some point soon, or I'm going to give you the option. I can fix it here today, but I would start setting money aside. Here's kind of our options for water heaters. You're probably going to have to make this decision in the future. And so it's a balancing act, because I promise you, technicians do not want to sell. I promise you, they don't want to do home safety inspections. All they want to do is get in and out of the home. So anytime you introduce them a home safety inspection, or you want them to promote water softener services, or you want them to promote something that is actually beneficial to the first excuse they're going to give you is, I don't want to be like that corporate company. I don't want to sell things people don't need. That's not what we're doing. That is your excuse. If that's your mindset, that's your problem, because that's not what I'm telling you to do. As the business owner, I'm telling you to actually present things that are beneficial to them, to take 15 minutes to do a home safety inspection that's ultimately going to serve them better and save them money. We're not used car salesmen. And if that's the impression that you're giving people, that's on you. We need to work through it. And so that's why I want to emphasize that there's a very big difference in between those two things.
I agree with that 100%. I think the issue that we were having, and I was kind of painting as contrast, is like there were very specific products they wanted us to sell even. So we were kind of like limited on what we could do, where at the other company, if we're walking through finding those options, finding wants and needs both, we had more options there. And I think options like you were, bringing up with safety inspections and that kind of thing to help improve the quality of their home and living. Those are all great options to always be able to offer for customers. But the key is that they have the option to either do it or not to do it, and give them more control and power over that. But the merit-based pay was the how would I put it? That was like the focus of what I was trying to say, is kind of how it was done well, with that company out of Kansas City. And I think that we'll definitely be modeling the way we do things similar to that.
I love it. Matt, I've seen your hand up for a little bit now.
Oh yeah. So I just, we do electrical, and sometimes, not that I have many guys, I have two, but obviously, let's face it, sales is a huge part of the business. And what I tell my guys is, if you're struggling whether I should or should not recommend a, whatever it is, a panel upgrade or GFCI protection in bathrooms or kitchen, I simply say, would you recommend it to your mother? And that usually will answer any question about whether you feel good or passionate or any moral issues about a recommendation on whatever it is. I mean, you guys can use it for plumbing or HVAC or whatever. If you would recommend, to your mother or your sister or your grandmother, yep, you need those smoke detectors are literally 24 years old. It's probably time that we get a new smoke detector up there.
Yeah.
And then that literally will if you're kind of on the fence, if this is should I recommend this or not? Then that's always been our go-to, is, would you recommend it to somebody you love? And that usually answers it.
Absolutely. I love that mindset of it, because that kind of takes the emotions away from it, from your text of this isn't about selling, it's about serving. And if you would recommend it to your mom because it's going to serve her better, then you need to be recommending it to your clients. I know the last plumber that came out to my house, my toilets were just consistently running. And one thing that I forgot, because I was in the middle of the workday, is that one of my toilet seats was coming off the hinges. And I am the most incompetent person when it comes to fixing anything in my home. I'm a terrible homeowner. It's bad. And so I'm not going to do that myself. And my dad's worse at handy stuff than I am. So I don't got anybody to fix those things unless I beg Travis to come help me. And so that plumber, him being out there, he saw that toilet seat. He just didn't offer. That could have been another, I would have paid him, $80 to $100 just to fix it for me, because I'm not going to do it. And I don't want to be falling in the toilet anymore, And so taking that moment and just taking a moment and being aware of your surroundings, looking at those things, you'd be amazed how much your tickets can increase just because you're serving your customers better. I am going to butcher your name. If you could tell me how to say your name. I saw your hand go up. Is it? If you'll unmute.
Parviz?
Parviz. Parviz?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
What's your question?
Question quick. I do air duct cleaning and also on site chimney and dryer vent cleaning. And for my service is should be done same time serving the customer and sells the service. And most people, they don't know about air ducts. They think just the cleaning, which is there may be molds or sometimes a dryer needs to be cleaned every year. And most people, they think that they can just blow out, but they don't know it needs to be brushed and cleaned from outside, which is fire hazard. So right now, I'm planning to hire the guy. So he worked for me before for about a year. And the thing, what I like for him, he's good seller. So he knowledge the customer, what needs to be done. So he can sell same time and do the service. But the thing, what I don't like it, so there's many excuses like he started job delayed and just once a week, like as average, once a week. So like, hey, I can work today. This happened, this that, which is it needs to be done a couple of days before. I have to remind, let the customer know, right, in order to reschedule it. So that's why I'm on the middle to hire him. So there's positive and same time negative. So or hire is better to hire someone else.
Yeah. So in a situation like that, I think you kind of have a little bit of pros and cons there. And you already know the cons of working with him. But if he introduces, a lot of chaos to the business that leads to, customer dissatisfaction, I'd almost be tempted to say, have you tried hiring for that position previously? Is it easy to find, good techs that are maybe a little bit more reliable, that can still get the job done, that can still sell in the home?
Yes, I did hire a couple other guys. So they are like some of them they do really good job, but they can't sell a service. So some of them like they can sell it, but they're not really good to do the quality service, the quality clinic. So it's like it's on my industry, it's a little bit hard to find a person who can sell it and do the service because I cannot like sell the service and it needs to be done same time, not rescheduling an update.
I think there's probably a lot of other people on the call that kind of feel that same way. It's hard to find somebody that's good at doing the work and selling the job. Do other people feel like you run into that quite a bit? Just with the line of work you do, I
Exactly.
see Kevin nod. Yeah, I think that's really where having somebody that can do the job, that's dependable, and really teaching them and training them, the selling portion of it, having a sales process for them to follow, more so than just relying on their natural abilities and skills. You
Amen.
know,
Say it
and
again
we
for the
can
people
help
in the
you with
back.
that.
Yes. Yes.
Because like Nicole said, it doesn't have to be so much, the used car salesman, super charismatic or anything. A lot of times, uh, knowing how to explain the benefits of what needs to be
Yeah.
done to the customer is really what leads to sales for your businesses.
Mm,
So what needs to be
okay.
done, explaining that well, and then why that's so important and why it needs to be done.
Yes. And one hack that Arnold's Plumbing, and we actually talked about it in the group call last week, is a one sheet. It is very rare to find a technician who likes to sell. If they like to sell, they would have not gone into being a technician. They would have done sales. And so they're not going to find somebody who's very inclined. That's why it's your job as the business owner to equip them to be able to
Mm,
sell in a way where they don't feel like a salesperson. A one sheet is a great way to do that. Having a service call checklist for them that's very simple. Hey, show up on time, compliment the home. These are the things you check. Go over it with the customer. Let them know what other services we could provide. Like having a checklist where they don't have to think and they're just being genuine. They're being themselves, but they're following this checklist is going to naturally allow them to sell. And in that checklist, we'll have them go over the one sheet, go over the benefits, what makes you guys different than everybody else. And so the trick there, it's not finding somebody. I have somebody who sells and I have somebody who does the work. For some industries, that does work, guys, for your modelers, roofers. But for those people who have a very quick sales process, the person calls, we go out, we do the work, we get paid. So most of our service guys to equip your techs to be able to sell because people do expect that work to happen fast. And you will lose jobs if you have somebody selling and then we're not doing the work for
yep.
a week or more. And so I'd work with your coach to be able to develop a service call checklist, a one sheet, these tools that are going to allow you to train your guys to be able to sell the jobs too.
Okay, that was great. Thank you.
Yes. Well, guys, we were going to go over the KPIs here today if we didn't have questions, but I am just pleased as punch that we had questions to fill up this whole hour. If we did not get to your question, you can always save it for next Thursday. You could always talk to your coach about it. Send us an email. Not a lawyer. We don't bill per hour per minute. And so just don't feel like you have to wait. You know, this is your lifeline. We want to be here for whatever, questions arise throughout the week. But I really appreciate you guys being here and participating. We're going to close out this call the same way we close out every call. And so if I could get everybody to unmute, I'm going to be looking, seeing the unmutes happen. There we go. They're coming in.
Making a list of the people that didn't unmute.
That aren't. Yeah, I'm clocking it. It's all right here. Okay, guys, we're going to do a big 3, 2, 1 growth. So we'll go 3, 2, 1.
Growth.
You guys have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.